What makes a football team truly complete? Is it the trophies, the tactics, the legends who walk onto the pitch? Or is it the sheer, undeniable dominance that leaves no doubt who rules the game? Throughout history, only a handful of clubs have managed to put it all together. The balance, the brilliance, and the glory that turned a great team into something unstoppable. Think about it. Mourinho's tactical masterclasses, bending games to his will. Pep Guardiola's footballing symphonies, where every pass, every touch, every movement feels like poetry. Arsenal's Invincibles, rewriting Premier League history with a season that defied belief. Bayern Munich, a well-oiled machine, crushing every rival in Europe with precision and power. These teams didn't just win, they defined an era. They left marks on football that still echo decades later. They set standards that others could only dream of matching. And today, we're diving deep into the very best. The top 10 greatest club seasons of all time. From heartbreak and redemption to artistry and domination, this countdown will take you on a journey through the most unforgettable campaigns in football history. And trust me, number 1, it isn't just great, it's untouchable. A season that didn't just win trophies. It redefined what it means to dominate the beautiful game. If any season in football history screams drama, resilience, and sheer willpower, it's Manchester United's 1998-99 campaign. This wasn't just a team winning trophies, this was a team rewriting what was thought possible. The Premier League, the FA Cup, and the Champions League, a treble that had never been achieved in English football before. But the story isn't just about silverware, it's about moments that became immortal. The Premier League was a battle every week, with Ferguson's men never allowing doubt to creep in. Players like Giggs, Scholes, Beckham, and Keane carried not just skill, but a hunger that refused to quit. Every goal, every tackle, every pass felt like it carried the weight of history. And then came the Champions League final against Bayern Munich, a stage where legends are made or broken. Bayern scored early, and for 90 minutes it looked like United's dreams might slip away. But this team never knew the meaning of surrender. In the dying moments, Teddy Sheringham leveled the score, and then, in one of the most iconic strikes in football history, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer turned it on its head. 2 goals in stoppage time, and the impossible became reality. This wasn't just a comeback, it was a statement, a reminder that football isn't only about skill or tactics, it's about heart, spirit, and believing until the final whistle. The 1998-99 Manchester United squad didn't just win a treble, they cemented their place in eternity, showing the world exactly what it means to be unstoppable. Every fan, every player, every club remembers that season. A season where heroes rose, legends were born, and football itself was transformed. 1 year earlier, in 2012, Bayern suffered one of the most heartbreaking defeats in football history. The Champions League final at their own Allianz Arena, 90 minutes of hope shattered by Drogba's header, and then the agony of penalties. They lost everything that night, the trophy, the dream, the belief. But instead of collapsing, Bayern transformed that pain into pure fire. Under Heynckes, they came back as a machine, relentless, unstoppable. Every match that season looked less like a contest and more like an execution. They tore through the Bundesliga, finishing 25 points clear at the top. They swept the DFB Pokal. And in Europe, they didn't just win, they humiliated giants. The semi-final against Barcelona wasn't football, it was a massacre. 7-0 on aggregate. Messi and company had no answers, and then came Wembley, an all-German final against Borussia Dortmund. 90 minutes of tension, nerves, and drama, until Arjen Robben wrote his redemption story with that late winner. The treble was complete, from heartbreak to history. Bayern Munich's 2012-13 season wasn't just dominance, it was vengeance. And if you thought that was legendary, wait until you see what's at number 8. A year earlier, Porto had lifted the UEFA Cup, Europe's second-tier competition. But what came next? Unprecedented. No team in history had won the UEFA Cup one season and then the Champions League the next, until Mourinho's Porto did just that. This wasn't a squad of superstars, it was a meticulously assembled team built on strategy and scouting. Players like Deco, Carlos Alberto and Costinha were brought in for modest fees. The entire squad cost less than $15 million to assemble, a fraction of what Europe's elite clubs were spending. Porto's journey to the Champions League was a masterclass in tactical discipline. After a rocky start in the group stage, they turned the tide. In the knockout rounds, they eliminated giants like Manchester United to seal their progression. In the final against Monaco, Porto didn't just win, they dominated. A 3-0 victory that showcased their tactical superiority and Mourinho's genius. This wasn't just a triumph, it was a statement. Porto became the first club to win the UEFA Cup and the Champions League in consecutive seasons, a record that still stands. Mourinho's Porto proved that with vision, strategy, and discipline, greatness isn't determined by budget, it's defined by brilliance. If Barcelona's magic was built on possession, Ajax's masterpiece was built on youth, courage, and a return to their legendary roots. Total football wasn't new. It was born in Amsterdam during the Cruyff era of the 70s. But in the mid-90s, Louis van Gaal brought it back to life with a new generation of fearless stars. Liedmanen, Seedorf, Davids, Kluivert, Overmars, these weren't seasoned veterans. They were kids, but together they played like artists who had been perfecting the game for decades. That season, Ajax didn't just win, they didn't lose. Unbeaten in the Eredivisie, unbeaten in the Champions League. Their football was bold, fast and fluid, a youth-driven storm sweeping across Europe. And on the biggest stage of all, the Champions League final, they faced the reigning giants, AC Milan. The odds said Milan, the script said Ajax. A teenage Patrick Kluivert came off the bench and with one touch of brilliance wrote his name into history. 1-0, Ajax were champions of Europe. That team didn't just win trophies, they redefined what was possible when you trust in youth and in a philosophy bigger than any single player. Ajax 1995 wasn't just a team, it was the rebirth of an idea, and as unstoppable as they were, Number 6 takes the idea of dominance to a whole new level. When Jose Mourinho arrived in England, he didn't just bring a suitcase and a smile, he brought a revolution, and he announced himself with one of the most iconic lines in football history, "I think I'm a special one." At first, many laughed, but within months, nobody was laughing anymore. Chelsea became an iron fortress, a team built on discipline, control, and ruthless efficiency. They stormed through the Premier League with a style England had never seen before, not just winning games, suffocating opponents. By the end of the season, they had set a record that still stands today, conceding just 15 goals, 15 over 38 matches, a defensive wall that remains unmatched. And here's the thing that made this team truly special. Mourinho built it all in a single season, his first year. He took a group of talented individuals and almost overnight turned them into a machine. They collected points at a pace that left everyone else gasping for air. 95 in total, a record at the time. Add to that the League Cup, and Mourinho's Chelsea had officially changed the face of English football. And yet, there's one moment that still haunts this team, the infamous Liverpool ghost goal in the Champions League semi-final. If goal line technology had existed back then, that ball would never have stood. Chelsea might have gone through, they might have reached the final, they might have won it all. And to add to the aura of dominance, Mourinho himself held the longest home unbeaten record in football history at the time, 9 years without a single league defeat at home. Stamford Bridge wasn't just a stadium. Under Mourinho, it was a fortress. This wasn't just a title win. It was the birth of an empire, shadowed by the thought of what could have been. And as seismic as that was, number 5 shows us what happens when genius, drama, and destiny all collide. Some teams win, some dominate, but only a few rewrite history, and that's exactly what Real Madrid did. By 2017, the Champions League had become the holy grail every club was chasing, and for over 2 decades, no one had managed to defend it. Too much pressure, too much competition. The idea of back-to-back titles in the modern era, impossible, until Zidane's Madrid arrived. With Cristiano Ronaldo at his lethal best, Sergio Ramos leading with fire, and a midfield orchestra of Modric and Kroos pulling every string, this team wasn't just built to win, it was built to last. Add Marcelo flying down the wing, and Madrid had balance, power, and brilliance in every position. They stormed through La Liga, lifting the title in a league dominated by Messi's Barcelona, and then in Europe they made the impossible look easy. The final against Juventus should have been a battle. Instead, it was a statement. Madrid didn't just win, they destroyed them. 4-1, record etched in history. This wasn't just a great season, it was the confirmation of a dynasty. Zidane, the calm genius on the sidelines. Ronaldo, the unstoppable force. Together, they changed football's modern era forever. And if you thought that was untouchable, number 4 takes us back to a team that redefined dominance itself. In football, records are broken, titles are won. But what Arsenal achieved that season, that was immortality. Under Arsène Wenger, the Gunners played football with beauty, flair, and intelligence. But in 2003-04, they added something more: steel, a relentless consistency that turned artistry into history. Led by Patrick Vieira, a captain who embodied strength and fight. Fueled by Thierry Henry, who made scoring goals look like poetry. And inspired by Dennis Bergkamp's vision and creativity, Arsenal became untouchable. They didn't just win the Premier League, they went the entire season unbeaten. 26 wins, 12 draws, 0 defeats, a 38-game marathon without a single slip. Something so rare, so difficult, it hadn't been seen in English football for over a century. Week after week, opponents tried to stop them. None could. Highbury became a fortress, but even away from home, Arsenal carried an aura. A quiet belief that they would never lose. And they didn't. When the season ended, Wenger's men stood not just as champions, but as legends, the Invincibles, a team that achieved the impossible, and a record that may never be touched again. Immortality in football has many forms, but this was perfection wrapped in red and white, and as rare as that was, number 3 takes us to a team that not only ruled their country, but reshaped the world stage. If Bayern's treble was about ruthless domination, this was about pure beauty. Football, not as a sport, but as an art form, with Messi gliding between defenders, Xavi dictating every rhythm, and Iniesta weaving magic in the spaces no one else could see. Barcelona didn't just win matches, they hypnotized opponents. It was tiki-taka at its purest, passing not just to move the ball, but to break spirits. That season, they swept La Liga with elegance, but their masterpiece came under the Wembley lights. In the Champions League final against Manchester United, United had legends of their own, Rooney, Giggs, Ferdinand, but on that night, they were chasing shadows. Barcelona's 3-1 performance wasn't just a victory, it was a masterclass, a 90-minute exhibition that Sir Alex Ferguson himself admitted. They were the best team we ever faced. Every touch, every pass, every goal, etched into football history as the closest thing to perfection the game has ever seen. This was not just Barcelona at their peak, this was football itself at its purest. And as perfect as that sounds, number 2 will take us even deeper into greatness. Some seasons are remembered for brilliance, some for beauty, but Inter's 2009-10 campaign was remembered for tactical genius, pure, ruthless genius. Jose Mourinho had returned to Italy with a mission: make Inter not just champions of Serie A, but conquerors of Europe, and he did it in a way only Mourinho could. Every match was a lesson in strategy, every goal a masterstroke, and the genius didn't stop on the pitch. In the transfer market, Mourinho outwitted Pep Guardiola himself. He orchestrated a swap that would define the season: Zlatan Ibrahimovic and $46 million for Samuel Eto'o. Critics called it bold, Inter called it destiny. Eto'o became the perfect weapon, lethal in front of goal, the missing piece to complete Mourinho's master plan. They tore through Serie A, they lifted the Coppa Italia, but it was Europe where their brilliance shone brightest. In the semi-finals, they faced Guardiola's Barcelona, the team that had mesmerized the world with tiki-taka. Barcelona were favourites. Everyone expected Inter to be crushed. Instead, Mourinho outsmarted them. Inter's defence was impenetrable, counter-attacks precise. Messi and company were frustrated, humiliated even. Inter went through, and then came the final. Bayern Munich, a European giant. But Diego Milito had other plans. 2 sublime goals, victory, history. Inter Milan became the first Italian team to ever win the treble. This wasn't luck, this wasn't flash, this was meticulous planning, strategy, and execution at its finest. A season where one man's mind and one brilliant transfer reshaped a squad into legends. And as brilliant as that was, number 1 will show the team that took football to its absolute peak, the ultimate story of domination, artistry, and history. Some seasons are great, some are historic, and then there's this, the ultimate season of domination. Under Hansi Flick, Bayern didn't just play football, they obliterated it. Every match, every tournament, every opponent was crushed under a storm of power, precision, and ruthless efficiency. They lifted 6 trophies in a single year: Bundesliga, DFB Pokal, Champions League, UEFA Super Cup, German Super Cup, Club World Cup. 6, 1 year, a feat never before achieved in modern football. And the brilliance didn't stop with trophies. Robert Lewandowski scored 55 goals across competitions, unstoppable, clinical, historic. Barcelona learned this the hard way in Europe, humiliated 8-2, a result that stunned the footballing world and left even the greats speechless. What made this Bayern truly special wasn't just individual talent, it was balance, power, relentless intensity, a team that could attack with devastating speed, defend with impenetrable discipline, and rotate seamlessly across competitions. No side before or since has combined dominance, artistry, and efficiency in this way. They weren't just champions, they were a statement, a blueprint of perfection. Bayern 2019-20 didn't just win football, they redefined it, and there you have it, the top 10 greatest club seasons of all time. Teams that didn't just win trophies, they defined eras, set records, and showed the world what football at its absolute peak looks like. But now I have a question for you. If your life depended on a football team to defend it, which season's team in history would you choose to play for you? Drop your answer in the comments, and don't forget to include the manager, because every great team starts with a mastermind at the helm. And if you disagree with any of our selections, let us know your list in the comments too. I want to hear your take. This is a debate for true football fans. If you enjoyed this journey through football history, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel, because we're just getting started and there's plenty more legendary football stories to uncover. So which team in history would you trust with your life? Let us know below.